Like if your tonality is off by just a little bit on that one call, you lose 20 grand because there's so many opportunities out there. It's just people aren't taking advantage of them. It's just so simple, but we make it so complicated. Like we have an opportunity, take advantage of the freaking opportunity. You make some sacrifices now, then you're gonna have a really easy life later.
Well, hey guys, this is another edition of the Phone Warriors podcast. We have a very, very exciting guest for you all today. And this is where we're going to go a deep dive into and niching down on exactly what makes Mr. David Arustamian the top badass dog that he is in the real estate game. David Arustamian, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, David. So what we want to start with, if you can introduce yourself. I know you've done this a couple of times, but let's just hear just a little bit about your background, where you're at. You know, you could talk about some production numbers and really just get an idea of really who you are and where you've come from.
So my story is pretty simple, actually. So I moved to Arizona in 2015. I had my real estate license in Massachusetts back east since '09. Didn't really do real estate, just kind of had it as a part-time thing, helping family and friends, kind of like what the average agent does. Moved to Arizona in 2015, got my license in 2016, signed up with coaching in 2016 in May. Went to a Mike Ferry event, didn't really believe anything I was told. I heard people on stage doing 100 sales a year, and I was like, that's not possible. How much is he paying to have these guys say that? And then, now 8 years later, basically sitting in the front two rows, pretty cool. So my production went from 14 homes sold year one. We're at 94 closed year to date, November 21st. So we have another month and a half to close some properties. I have a bunch of pending. So should crack 100 this year, which is not too bad, a little bit lower than what we did last year. Small team. So that's a little about me.
Amazing. So one of the things that I know that Rich and I really wanted to get into is your top three strengths and what makes you do 94 deals. And by the way, for the record, we all understand that this 2023 year, you realize you are doing this kind of business in a market where we are down 40% on those numbers. And so one of the things you had mentioned to us, and what I know, and I've seen it even during events and talking with you, is your discipline. And you talk about that a lot in some other podcasts. What does discipline mean for you? And why do you think you possess such a high level of that in your career and in your life?
So discipline to me means doing whatever we have to do every single day to get the production or achieve the goals we want. And so what I was taught through the coaching program that I'm in is if you do X number of, I call it contacts, people you're talking to, whether it's phone calls or door knocking, you talk to X number of people, you're going to make X amount of money. So it made it really easy for me to understand, like, I don't know if I have my amount of money that I make per contact. Oh yeah, I do. It's $500. So every time I talk to somebody and they say not interested, I'm like, $500, $500, $500. So it's all good because I know that, yeah, I'm going to have to talk to, right now, contacts per listing taken, 40. I'm going to have to talk to 40 people and I'm going to get a listing taken. Not too bad. When I first started, it wasn't 40. So I understand that if I stop doing what I'm doing, my production will slip. I've achieved a pretty good production number in my opinion, and I don't want it to go down. And I do use it when I go on appointments and I'm meeting with sellers. I'm saying, hey, look, do you want to go with the agent that sells 5 homes a year or the agent that sells 85 homes a year? You choose. So I like to be able to say that. So I don't want that number to go down. And I'm really big proponent of the accumulation effect. This business you can't get into this. Like I have team members that jump on, they're like, yeah, we're going to crush it year one. You can have goals. I like it. I really like that you're going to crush it, but you're probably not going to sell 50 homes year one because you don't have the accumulation effect. I have on my desk here, I have future leads. So I got leads out for the next 12 months. So if I stop prospecting, I still have leads they're future leads, but for the next 12 months. But after that 12 months, I'm out. So I need to continue to be generating. And that's why I stay so disciplined in my business and my life.
So one thing that Dean and I were definitely speaking about, we asked your assistant to give us three of your strengths. And one thing we did realize was about the schedule-based and the delegation part of it. So walk us through a schedule. What does your morning look like? What are your must-haves throughout the day? and things that, you know, you're like, hey, it's not worth my time. Let's move it over, the $500 an hour aspect.
Yeah, for sure. So my schedule is pretty much, and I have it up here, so I'm just going to go to next week. I typically wake up between 5 and 5:30. I'm at the gym by about 5:30. I don't do a crazy workout. You know, what I tell my team is like, I don't get paid to go lift weights. I don't get paid to run 10 miles in 25 minutes or whatever it is. I get paid to do this.
Headset.
This is what makes me money. I don't, you know, I'm in pretty good shape. I wouldn't consider myself like a ultra athlete, but you know, I'm in fairly good shape. So I'll typically be out of the gym by between 7 and 7:15. I structure my life where my office, my gym, and where I live are all actually walking distance. So
Oh, wow.
I take my car, but I'm a big proponent of efficiency. So I typically aim to be in the office by like 7:15 to 7:30, and on the phones between 7:30 and 7:45. I'll prospect from 7:45 till 10 usually. Now I have a little bit of a different schedule now than when I first started, because when I first started, I didn't have a team, I didn't have a TC, I didn't have a listing coordinator, I didn't have a transaction coordinator, I should say, because I don't know if people always understand what TC is, but I didn't have a transaction coordinator, I didn't have a listing coordinator helping me, I didn't have an admin, I didn't have buyers agents under me, so I didn't really have anybody to train other than just spend time on the phone and talk to people and generate sales. That brings me up to about 10 o'clock. 10:30, I'm going to meet with my staff. So I'm going to have either a call with my transaction coordinator who doesn't work in the office. Everybody else, by the way, works in the office with me. I'm a big proponent of being in the office, not big about working from home, just personal opinion. And then typically 11 to 12 o'clock, I'll have lunch, which will last about an hour. My appointment times are 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Believe it or not, most people do want to meet on the times that I ask them to meet, which is awesome. And then various days throughout the week, I'll have one-on-ones with my team. We'll have a team meeting on Thursday. I have a buyer agent training for my agents. I call it a buyer agent training. It's an agent training Monday mornings. And that's about it.
Wow, that's a packed schedule right there.
And by the way, David, is that 5 days a week, or do you also work on Saturdays or Sundays?
Yeah, I actually do work Saturdays and Sundays, more so Saturdays. Sometimes I take a Sunday off here and there. But for right now and the challenges we're having, I'm putting in a little bit more time on the weekends.
And what's the mindset behind that? Like why do you feel you need, you know, the 6 and 7 days of work weeks versus the 5?
It's just personal for me. Like I want to hit a certain goal, and I have to get a certain number of contacts in per day. So if I'm not hitting my contacts during the week, I'm going to put them in over the weekend.
Okay. And are you know, when you're in the car, do you listen to music? Do you listen to podcasts, or are you dialing like everybody else? I can't say everybody else. I'm talking about one person only that I know that does that.
I'm dialing, man. Typically when I'm in the car, I have like an Audible on, and then I'm making lead follow-up calls. So actually car time for me is lead follow-up time, which I think is awesome.
Wow. So, okay. So one question that came to my head, I'm writing all this down, by the way, because this is amazing. And I really think that everyone who is listening to this right now, or after the recording of this, should write all these notes down. But one thing, how old are you now, David?
34.
Okay. So it's fair to say that you're like a millennial. You're in this, like, you grew up kind of with us in, you know, the 90s and 2000s. And one thing that we get a lot of heat for is being distracted, ADD, these different things that come in. You're 34 years old. You're even 4 years younger than me. And I'm saying to myself, I know distractions is what I hear a lot of agents complaining about. Oh, we have social media, we have all these different things. How do you keep that focus and that discipline with so much coming at you at any one time to really stay true to this method of how you're doing business?
So I actually don't have any social media apps on my phone at all. I do have access to my social media, obviously, on my computer, but kind of, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I don't get a lot of business from social media. So I always look at it like, what's my time worth? So again, if it takes me even 1 hour to hit 6 contacts, which is what I did this morning in my first hour, 6 contacts, it's $3,000, right? So I got to look at it like, if I spend an hour on social media, is that worth $3,000? Because I think in all of my years of doing this, and like I said, 2016 full-time first year, by the way, first time in Arizona, was 20. I moved here in 2015. I don't know.
You had no sphere. You had no database at all.
0.
Wow.
My only database was one of my friends who'd bought a house through a real estate agent here and said, "Hey, David, come check out Arizona." His name is Vic. I love you, Vic, because you got me out of Massachusetts. And so the only person I knew was him, and I knew my real estate agent who I bought a house from. And that was it. So wow. Everybody's saying, well, I can't do this because I don't have a sphere. Like, I don't know what to do. I didn't even have a sphere. I didn't even have a person to talk to. I built my entire business off expireds. And here's the thing. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, there's minimal expireds. By the way, they're increasing, but there's not a lot of expireds. We'll call old expireds. I didn't just call the current expireds. I called old expireds. I went back years and called expireds. There's always something to do, which is why when people say, well, I don't know what to do, it drives me crazy because I could literally work for 24 hours every single day and not be caught up because there's so many opportunities out there. It's just people aren't taking advantage of them.
So then 7:15 to 7:30, going back to your schedule, is that role play time or is that expired time? Who are you calling for the first 7:45 to 10 and 7:15 to 7:30?
So 7:15 to 7:30 right now, I'm more so doing like admin, just cleaning stuff up before my staff gets in because my staff gets in at 7:30. But typically, up until about 4 weeks ago, 7 to 7:15 for me is a role play, or 7:15 to 7:30 is a role play, and then I jump on the phones.
So wait, you're telling me at 94 deals closed and pending for the year, or closed, let's say, and you have a few more pending, you still role play?
Oh yeah, role play practice. Still write out script because I have to role play with my team, right? So, and I get to role play with great people like you guys, like Robert Villanueva. I role play with him. I'm on his Zoom, right? Stuff like this. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, like, I still have my scripts in front of me. So the ego might tell us we don't need it. But at the end of the day, like if your tonality is off by just a little bit on that one call, you lose 20 grand. Is it worth it?
So, and please, Rich, go on with any point that you have here, because my mind is just spinning with questions now as it gets into it. So go ahead, please.
So you said tonality, right? And you say you have your scripts in front of you. Do you feel that every agent should be reading the scripts verbatim? Let's say they don't role play, they don't believe in role playing, and they want to start with themselves and just start simply with a script. Do you think that they should read it word for word, or do you think that they should add on their spin and their questions into each and every script that they come across with?
What's your serious question or a joke of a question? So
there's both.
The scripts we use work, right? Like, why are you changing stuff up that works? If it made me $1 million, why would you want to change it? Are you making $1 million? Like, it just doesn't make sense, right? I don't understand. I don't understand that it's the ego is what it is of the agents. And well, I sold 10 homes. Okay, great. Like I did that last month.
You did do that last month.
And I probably didn't even work as hard as you. And I did it last month. And you did it in the whole year. So I don't mean to sound like a smart ass or anything. It's just so simple, but we make it so complicated.
So this is the one thing that we get a lot, especially within our group on Facebook, but also people that are going to watch us on YouTube and everything, that I get, and we hear from agents all the time about, I believe they underestimate how long it takes to get to your level of business. And so how long did it take you before it clicked? When the script started coming and flowing, like, what was that like when it just said like, oh my God, I'm year 2 in? Was it 3? Was it 4? Was it immediately? Like, are you just a unicorn? Like, how does that work for you?
So I think my production was 14, 28, 66. This is units, right? 14 units, 28 units, 66. So year 3, we 2x'd, right? Our business, which I thought was pretty good. And that was with one buyer's agent, by the way. Wow. So I would say within the first year, the stuff really starts to click, but agents want to jump in and 2 months in, oh, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to do 5 escrows. I mean, typically that's not what's going to happen because you're going to be going up against guys like me. And I'm not saying I'm the best, but it's pretty good competition. So you're not going to do as good as you think year 1. I think it just takes time and people have to be patient there are a lot of people in my market, in Phoenix market prospecting. So there's a lot of competition, but again, I can't get everybody. I call 1, maybe two times a day. But when I first started, I was calling 3 times a day. So now I just don't have that. I don't have that time. And maybe I can make it if I hire more people, but I just feel as though for my business model right now, it doesn't work. So I'm going to focus on what I'm doing, and what I'm doing clearly works. But when I was first starting, guys, and I tell my agents this, I'm like, how can you go home at 3? Like, what are you doing? What are you going to go do at home at 3 o'clock? Because at 3 o'clock, I was probably 4 hours, at least 4 to 5 hours in on my prospecting when I first started. And I would stay on the phones till 8:45.
Wow. And do you, it's a great point about 8:45 p.m. Do you feel that the clients are getting aggravated, or the prospects that you're calling get aggravated that you're calling past 8 o'clock, past 7 o'clock? Some people get scared past 6 o'clock. What are your thoughts with that?
Yeah, so look, if it's a motivated seller, they're going to appreciate the hard work. If it's an unmotivated seller that doesn't want to sell their home, they're not going to appreciate it. But you don't want the non-motivated one anyway. You want the guy that says, wow, I want this guy because this guy's working his butt off. I want this guy working for me. That's what you're looking for.
How long did it take you to build that habit then of working that many hours prospecting? Because one thing that I think we realize over time, and Rich and I have done this before together, and we would do like 6.5 hours, 7 hours straight, maybe an hour break and then just go again.
That's
how
tough.
did you build, right? So how did you build that habit of like marathon almost mindset of continuously working for almost virtually 12 hours coming up? Like, what was it, a buildup, or was it more of like sequentially you just said, F it, I'm just going to do it? Or like, how did that work out for you?
It's hard for me to think back and exactly identify like in 2016 what happened, but my understanding is it's a muscle, and I still look at it as a muscle. So yes, it probably did take some time to build up to it, but it probably took me a few months. I mean, because at the end of the day, again, what else are you doing? I don't understand when one of my agents, like I said, gets 16 contacts in and calls it a day. If you have zero pendings, I mean, what else could you be doing all day? And that's why I feel as though getting rid of these distractions like the phone. So I forward my phone every day. I don't take calls. I don't have social media on my phone. There's nothing for me to scroll through. You guys ever find yourselves like in bed just scrolling? And then if you do this, and I did this a few months ago, and that's when I deleted social media. I was like, if I was standing in the corner of my room, looking at me in my bed, scrolling through my phone for 20 freaking minutes, what would I say to myself? I'd be like, dude, snap out of it. Like, what are you doing? How productive is that? Is it even good? Even if it's not making you money, is it helping you, or is it hurting your mindset? Because you're scrolling through social media and you're seeing, oh my gosh, I'm on vacation and I'm in Hawaii. And it's like, shoot, like I want to do that too. I don't want to work tomorrow. So is that hurting you, or is it helping you? That's kind of have to look at it. And then just eliminate, because we all have 24 hours in the day. So it's just a matter of what you want to spend your time on.
Wow, that's very powerful. I mean, you have any more questions on that, Dean? Because I have another question about a totally different side topic.
Well, the only question I would have really would just be, because this is amazing, David. Thank you. This is super valuable. I think coming from you at your age also, I don't think enough people hear this message, which is why we wanted to do this with you today. And one of the things that come to my mind about this topic, though, is really when so you delete the social media. Okay, that's going to be hard for a lot of people maybe to do. But yet they say do you feel like agents come into this business either for the wrong reasons, or they think that it's easier, or like, did you have to you, did you have any of these preconceived notions of what it was going to be like, and then you just said, F it, I don't care, I want to be successful, I'm just going to do what is required? Or did you have to change any habits to get at, you see what I'm saying? Like, get out of that mindset of like, not to do some of the things that you might have got in the business for?
Well, luckily for me, even though when I was licensed in Massachusetts, I wasn't in a coaching program, but luckily for me, I signed up with a really good coaching program. So for me in 2016, when I got my license, I was told, do this and you will make money. And it was just like having the blind faith of just being like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to focus. And I remember talking to my coach, Eddie. I was like, Coach, they're going to look me up online. They're going to look me up. They're going to look at my social media. They're going to see I don't have any home sales. They're going to see my Zillow page. He's like, dude, forget about everything. Just set an appointment. Just try to get an appointment. Get out there. You're personable. People will like you. And that's what happened. I mean, literally, I leaned on the company. Now I tell my agents, lean on me. Like, your team is one of the most successful teams in the state. Lean on me. Like, bring me in, man. Tag me in. I'll help you. Do it together, because I make money too, right? Like, it makes sense. Back when I started, I didn't start with a team. So going back, I probably would have started with a team, leaned on the team, plugged into all their systems, and then maybe went off on my own if I felt like it. Having my personality, I probably would have done that. Plus, I would have probably outworked my team lead. So, but Yeah, man. I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, it does. It very much does. So
it sounds like he's creating a habit, right? Just a natural habit, like anything else. You want to get something, you want to get good at something, you're going to put the time, you're going to put the energy in, and you're going to put the focus. Without any of those ingredients, like he has the ingredients to make a great meal, right? So he's actually utilizing the products to have the outcome, and clearly it works for him.
It does. And this is the last point, Rich, because I want to get, we talk about doing this in building up your accumulation effect. And I think that I remember you talking to me at one of these events that, we get together and everything about your family and about, and I can ask you the cliche question, which is, what's your why? Why do you want to do this and everything else? But at the end of the day, what is seriously driving you at this at either this point or as you were coming up or even in the messy middle part when you were 2xing your biz, if you can remember? What is getting up every single day? Because I'm sure you're human, you don't have all good days all the time. We're talking all this other success. What is driving you past those moments?
You mean I'm not a robot?
Not yet. You're not AI controlled.
I haven't been able to plug in the chip yet. I'm working on getting it implanted. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I think, man, I talked at one of the Mike Ferry events on stage about the motivational thing and the goal setting. And so for me, it's, okay, there's a few things, right? Like I've talked to the agents that have gone through 06, 07 market crash. These guys had 10 investment properties. They had the house in the hills and they lost everything, right? Like I never want that to happen to me. So I push extra hard because look, you can make money. And like everything we're doing is, I look at it as if I don't get the listing, I'm letting that seller down because the seller is not going to get better service than what I'm willing to provide. There's nobody that's going to outwork me. So it's, I mean, it's true. And then I tell people, I say, hey guys, if I can't sell it, nobody can. I don't care if you bring in like Ryan Serhant for $1 million listing. It doesn't matter. He doesn't even work this market. He's not going to do anything better than what I'm going to do for you. So I think everything is a lot more expensive than we think it is. Even, and I bring this up, but it's kind of relevant, like a care home for your family, for example. These care homes are like 10 grand a month, okay, per person. So like you want mom and dad to go into a care home. I'm not saying they're going anytime soon. They're young, God bless them. But like 20 grand a month. Okay, they'll do a package deal, 15. That's like on top of every other expense we have. College for kids, if you're going to send your kids to college, I don't know. Everything is just so expensive. My car payments are like 6 grand a month. You know what I mean? So it's just, everything is a lot more expensive than we think. And so my goal is to have a certain amount of passive income coming in where no matter what happens, lawsuit, this whole thing that's happening, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, if in 2 years, if I can't even make another real estate sale, like I'm going to be okay. And that's what I want. I don't want to be the guy that's 70 years old, like, oh, shoot, well, I still got a prospect because, I got to make my payments. So it's just, like we have an opportunity, take advantage of the freaking opportunity.
Thank you for sharing that.
The opportunities before us.
Right. Like, why would you waste it? And I had a team meeting yesterday. I told my buyers, my agents yesterday, I go, guys, like, you know what to do. I'm giving you everything you need to do. You just got to do it. But the fear steps in, and I get it. It's tough. I remember when I first started, I wasn't like this. Now I'm like, if I don't get on the phone, I feel like I didn't even work.
That's the truth.
When I first started, I was using Mojo, and Red X would import into Mojo or whatever. Red X would be down. It didn't signal leads. I'm like, oh, cool. I can go back to sleep. Because I was worried. I didn't want to prospect, but now I see the results. I'm like, shoot, well, if I just do it, I'm going to make money. So, and guys, like, think about it this way. Look at how many jobs there are. Like yesterday I was driving, I saw a construction worker like jackhammering the road. And I'm like, dude, that guy makes like $20 an hour.
And he works hard, by the way.
Way harder than we do. Like I'm standing in a freaking office that's air conditioned. I'm looking at Camelback Mountain. Like we got it so easy. There's no excuse.
Awesome.
Sorry, I'm kind of raw. Like I'm just real. It's just
no.
Real.
I love this. This is exactly. I mean, honestly, this is exactly what we need, and was why we wanted to niche down on this, because I don't think because you're still in the growing. You're massively growing right now. I think you have another leg of hockey stick going up in your career. And to catch you talking about this now in real time, as opposed to talking about it in 20 years or 10 years from now, when you've been out of the production cycle for so long, there's a lot of coaches and mentors out there doing this. And it's like, we want to get this now. So appreciate you sharing that. So go ahead, Rich.
No, I definitely appreciate you showing that, sharing that. Wow, showing it. Why not? Right? It comes very like you said, it's raw, and you can feel the passion, and you can feel that. Listen, like, I have a tried and true way, and you just follow the recipe. You follow the path, and it was probably very tough, right? Because you hear all these shiny objects that are around you. You see different people, and they're succeeding in certain ways, but you stay true to the path. And this is the path that you chose, and you became very successful off of that, right? And one thing that I can see is, it seems like you're doing all the hard work, right? You're the one that's writing the contracts. You're the one that's writing the descriptions, right? You're the one that's going out and doing all the minutia to get the listing. But in reality, you're not. You have supplemental people that have integral parts of your business, and you're not scared to pass off the delegation aspect because you have faith in the people that you put together. So you're doing the three things that, that MFO always preaches, right? You're prospecting, you're presenting, and you're closing the transactions, right? So you're doing exactly what everybody out there who wants to call expires, who wants to call forced runners, just anybody wants to pick up the phone, you're the icon. You're what people will look up to, right? You're the big brother. So I think it's fantastic what you've achieved in a very short period of time, in just a few years.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Blinders are key. Like, I always get, oh, well, you should try this, and you should try that, and you should go to this event, you should go to that event. It's like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I'm good. Why would I change it? My bank account's growing. Like, I'm not having a miserable life. Why would I change anything? So blinders on. I really
and David, I think talking about blinders. Okay, let me just go on this point, and then I'll ask you a follow-up question to this. One of your superpowers, because we've known you for a long time, also, but also the fact that you're doing this podcast with us. I'm hearing clarity. You have a superpower of clarity, which I think people get confused. So when you do get, hey, event here, whatever else, like, you get invited to this stuff and be on panels, I'm sure, and you get invited all the time on this stuff. But what about when you hear different ways of how to do the business, like adding leverage or building out your team to a massive level or going different directions? How do you stay focused on doing being so clear and having the blinders, right? With all this coming at you with a fresh idea. How do you stay true to the process when you have potentially a better idea that comes to you? I think a lot of agents, I've talked to a lot of them in our group that struggle with that.
Yeah, it's tough, guys. It's really tough. And I'm not perfect. And I've let things creep in, and then I've had to push them back out. But the biggest thing for me is my schedule. So if it's not in my schedule, it's not happening. Like, if you guys didn't send me the calendar invite, I wouldn't have been here. Because I'd probably be doing something else. So that's just how I look at it. So it's got to be in my schedule. I'm super, super disciplined and super strict with my schedule. This morning, I thought my staff caught a text, because she sees all my texts. So I sent a text out, hey, let's have a call at 8:30. And I thought she caught it. And I'm like, it's 8:38. And I'm like, what am I forgetting? I look at my calendar. It's not on my calendar. I'm like, shoot, I forgot to call that seller. It's a $4 million seller. I forgot to call him, and I had a scheduled call with him through text. But so if it's not on my calendar, it's almost not happening. And again, I've let some stuff creep in here and there from, this event, that talk. But the biggest thing is, you just got to look at it like, what's my time worth? Is it worth it to do that? Because if I'm going to spend an hour and my hour is worth $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it is it worth it? Is that going to pay me? Because I'm looking at it like, my goal is number one. Okay. I'm a nice guy. Like, I'll help everybody, but my goals are first, and if it's not contributing to my goal that I've set for myself, I'm failing myself.
Absolutely. So I hear your schedule's really big. So let's talk about, or a question I had that popped up. If you have white space on your calendar, what are you doing in that time period? Like, you have your day blocked out, scheduled, you don't have an appointment, and you just have 2 hours, 3 hours of white space. What are you doing with the extra time that you have that particular day?
The answer is it depends. But most likely, if I have nothing to do, I'm either going to listen to like an inspirational book. I spend a lot of money and time on Audible. Something that's going to motivate me, something that's going to help my mindset, or I'm going to jump on the phones and call some past clients. Like right now, we have our client appreciation event coming up. It's January 13th, and we're doing it at the Phoenix Zoo for Zoo Lights. We're going to have catered food, catered drink, admission to the zoo. You're going to be able to spend some time with us. That's a script, by the way. I go ahead and I call my past clients, and that's a contact for me. I call the client. She's like, hey, by the way, my aunt is selling her house in California. I'm like, well, I know all the top agents in California. Why don't I connect you? I'm going to get a check for $5,000. Like, it's so easy to do this stuff. It's just nobody wants to do it. Everybody would rather send a text.
Absolutely. So what I hear you saying is, what you're telling your agents is, you're established. You've made the contacts goal for the day, and you're still not going home at 2:00 because you have nothing else to do in the day. You're going to be doing something that's proactive and is going to put potential income into your pocket down the road, right?
100%. I mean, my goal is I want to exceed my goals, right? I don't want to struggle to achieve my goals. So if I could get ahead of the goal, that's even better. And then the other thing is, like, what good thing happens after 8 p.m. at night? I think that was a Grant Cardone's saying. He's like, nothing good happens after 8, man. So like, I go to sleep early,
It's so funny you say that, dude, because I remember in Vegas, we would meet up in Vegas and I'm like, you want to go to the club? I'm saying that because I'm like, I have 3 kids down and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. And you're just like, I'm going to bed. I'm like, really? You're younger than me. What are you talking about? But obviously it speaks volumes. I mean, look at the success that's the accumulation effect, right? Like, of sleeping early and waking up early and having that impact.
Guys, I'm crazy. Like, I'll show you this real quick.
Yeah.
So I told my team about this yesterday for the first time. So I have this like board that I used to use, right? This is our like pilot instrument cluster
and everything. Yeah.
Everything. I got my goals here. And everything. So I went to a bachelor party. This was 2018. My buddy's divorced by now, but he got married in 2018. I brought this board with me to Vegas, and we had a penthouse and everything. And these guys went out, and the next morning, like, there's a few of us. So we had a penthouse, so we had multiple bedrooms. And in the morning, I put the board up. They're like, what is that? What'd you bring this black thing for? And I'm like, oh, that's my script board. I'm going to be prospecting tomorrow morning. And they're like, dude, we're going to be, super tired and blah, blah, blah. And I prospected. The kid was sleeping in the bed behind me because we had 2 beds. Like, I was at bed in the other bed. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, shut up. Like, I got to set an appointment because in 2 days, I'm going to be back in Arizona.
That's dedication right there. That's no deviation from the plan.
Right? You make some sacrifices now, and you're going to have a really easy life later. Like, it's just so simple. Or you party it up now, and then you're going to have a struggle coming up.
I wish that this was like more told. Like, you don't hear that, right? I mean, especially coming from a guy like you, in my opinion. So besides the obvious kind of characters that we've all had in our lives in the last, let's say, 5-6 years, was there anyone as you were growing up that had the biggest impact on you that you can say either shifted your focus on certain things, or was there an environment that you explored or you were in, whether it was bad or good, but it turned out to be good, to get you to say, well, I'm never doing that again, or this is something something like that? Was there anything, either person or environment, that you've had experienced in that is unique to you that made you who you are today?
Good questions. So for that, I would say there was no particular person, but we came to this country as basically refugees. So I'm Armenian, born in Azerbaijan, a Muslim country. We were basically kicked out of our country. We moved to Moscow, lived with family, and then we came here as refugees through the American Red Cross, lived in a basement, that whole thing. So we really came from nothing. So my dad used to pump gas and then deliver, pizza when he was able to afford a car, obviously. Mom was a baker in a basement baking cakes. So, to have this opportunity, like, think about what they went through, like being kicked out of leaving your house in a country that you purchased this house and now you just have to leave it because of religious reasons. And to think about the opportunity we have now, like, how do you not crush it? Like, this is nothing compared to what they went through, right? Like, I'm Armenian. My ancestors went through, a massacre. They marched for hours, then they got slaughtered. It's like, this is such a joke for me to do. It's so easy. Like, all of your goals are right here. They're just like, this is your source to your goal. So if you have a goal, just do this, pick up the phone, have a conversation with somebody, see if they're, when they're planning on moving. I mean, it's just so simple. So it wasn't a person, and we grew up super poor. I did have one buddy of mine whose father was really successful, owned a bunch of real estate. And I'm like, and then as it's funny, as you get more and more successful, you meet more successful people, and you realize that a lot of people with a lot of money, what do they have? A lot of real estate. So it's like, hey, they're doing it. All I have to do is copy it. I just have to do the same thing. So my goal every time I get a commission check is to see how I can invest it into a property. What kind of property can I buy with this? So I typically don't have a ton of money in my bank, which makes me go out and do more business, because just in case I need money, because I'm investing all my money into real estate. I'm not blowing my money on stupid stuff.
That's a great, I mean, but that's such power. It almost sounds like you have the immigrant edge. There's an edge. You have this like on the back of your, like it's on your back. It's almost like a chip on your shoulder. Like, yeah. F this, like, how pathetic can I be if I'm not doing the thing every single day? Right.
It's easy. This is too easy, guys. This is literally too easy. Yeah. I always, it's like the David Goggins thing. Like, this can't hurt me. That's how I look at it every day. Like, I do the cold plunge every morning. Like, this stuff can't hurt me. This is so easy. You just got to do it.
The cold plunge is key. That strengthens that mindset.
It does. Do some breath work. Do the cold plunge. I mean, it's freaking amazing. Like, you come into the office at 7:15, people are still sleeping. You're like, I'm ready. I don't even drink caffeine.
Oh, damn, dude. You don't have cold brews like I do all the time. Yeah, that's amazing. Good for you. So the last thing I can think about, and thank you, David, for all this. This is I think it's going to be super inspirational for a lot of people, is going into any other thoughts that you would like to leave. And if you could tell yourself anything when you were coming up, whether you were 15 years old or when you were first year in the business, give us 2 thoughts. What would you tell yourself in high school? And what would you tell yourself when you were first year in the business, knowing what you know now about life and business?
So it's kind of a joke, but I probably wouldn't have gone to college. I would have probably just gone full time into real estate. And like my nephew, he's always asking me, I want to have cars like you. What do I do? I'm like, you just got to get into real estate. Come on, join the team. So,
make some calls.
I actually see him tonight. So he lives in California, but I'm going to see him tonight because they're coming here. So, like, honestly, I would look at it as I would look at more, instead of just following the herd and saying, oh, well, you got to go to college and you got to do this and you got to do that. It's like, hey, why don't I just find somebody that's like a mentor, somebody that I can look up to and I can emulate, replicate, and do what they're doing. Maybe work for them, learn from them, give them value. Like, people are like, they're like, oh, can we pick your brain? I'm like, no, like, I don't need my brain picked. I'm like, if you want to come work for me and you want to like give me something, I'll give you back. I'll give you, but I'm not going to tell you what I do and then you can go do it, So that's what I would probably tell my younger self, maybe high school, just find a mentor and go with it. And guys, just to be real, like, I worked my ass through middle school, high school, college. I worked 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. while going to college full time, 3 days a week at a gas station. Night shift. I played sports in high school. I worked selling cars in high school. I flipped cars in college. Like, I did everything. I'm like the definition of an entrepreneur. So I definitely didn't slack. I didn't do a lot of partying. When I was younger, I saved a ton of money. That's why I was able to buy a house at 25. Looking back, I don't think I made too many mistakes. I was still a kid, so I did do some stupid stuff. And then for somebody that's like right now, I would tell them that sales is a contact sport. We all see Selling Sunset and we all watch these. And by the way, I don't watch them because I don't even have subscriptions to whatever they're streaming on. But, I've seen a few episodes here and there, and it's not that. People get into real estate, they think it's that. It's kind of that. But you got to get to that level. And to get to that level, you got to talk to as many freaking people as possible. So the map is set. You just have to, the route is there, you just have to take the route. And it's not going to be easy. but it's freaking simple. Sorry that my message is so simple, but this is how I am. It's just, it is.
I think we need more, but David, thank you for sharing. This is what people need. They need some, this is why we wanted to boil this down today, because it's the simple meanings behind what we do at a high level is the truth, you know? And I think we're all here truth seekers. That's why we went with the training company we did 5-6 years ago. It's why we did the actions that we've done, and we've stayed with a certain group of people. So thank you, man. I mean, I'm out of questions, but Rich, please go ahead and ask away if we want to end this now. I know we're getting up on time here. So
no, listen, I can only thank you and reiterate the same point as well, as simplicity is key. And, you know, you can't put the cart before the horse. You can't build a house without a foundation. And there's, you know, you can't drive a car if, you know, the production is not there, right? So at the end of the day, it's the very simple tasks that accumulate over time. And David has clearly shown he's the proven message behind that. You put the hard work in and the outcome's going to come. And, you know, I can't speak for David, but for myself, it doesn't happen overnight. Right? It happens over time. And I think if you listen to David's story, it happened over time, right? And then eventually it just clicked. And once it clicked, it made him an animal, a beast. And, you know, like he said, probably the #1 team in all of Arizona. And people are looking up to him and trying to steal his. And where?
Yes, one of the top small teams in Arizona. I mean, there's no other Sotheby's agent in the whole state that touches my production.
See?
So
yeah, and then let's also, when we say small teams, because, you know, this business is like, we're always trying to compare catchers to pitchers and outfielders to first baseman. You know, let's just be honest with where we are. So kudos to you, dude. David, thank you so much for doing this. Super grateful. I think there's a lot of value here, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
And real quick before we go, if people do want to reach out to you on social media, or people do want to reach out to you because they have a question, and want to send you referrals, like exactly where you're located and how can people get a hold of you?
For sure. So thank you for that. I service Phoenix Metro, so Arizona. So I always tell people, if you need anything in Arizona, you can typically reach out to me, because I know agents all over the state that I connect you with. But if it's Phoenix, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, and any part of Phoenix Metro, we handle. I have 4 buyers agents, 4 agents now that work with me. We just hired our 4th one just a few weeks ago. So, and then for social media, I mean, you could just Google my name. It's David Arustamian. My social media is David_Arustamian_realtor. But Agent DA is my website. So that's the easiest way to find me online. AgentDA.com.
AgentDA.com. Perfect. Thank you.